Hi, let's see how we can configure user-level permissions to various objects of your Caspio account. Using access permissions is extremely useful because it allows organizations to have multiple users logged in simultaneously to help manage and build applications. As the account owner, you never want to share your own credentials with anyone else. Instead, you can go to Account, click on Access Permissions, and from here you can add account users by inviting them to the platform. All you have to do is click on New User, input their email. Let's add a fictitious email, say for example, john@test.com. Select a specific group that this user will belong to. Notice that every user you add to your account will automatically be assigned to a group called Everyone. This group has certain permissions, which we'll talk about in just a moment. When done, click on Invite. Once you click on Invite, before this user can log into your account, they'll need to check their email and click on the verification link. Once verified, you should be able to see the active status and the last time this user logged in. If you don't plan on having multiple users with the same exact permissions, you can edit an individual user's permissions if you want. Notice we have two columns. On the right column are the permissions set by the group called Everyone, and John, because he belongs to this group, is inheriting those permissions. If you look at all the objects, you'll be able to see what privileges John will have once logged in. However, you can override or supersede the group's permissions by checking the boxes on the left column. Now let's say that you don't like the permissions set by this group. You feel that this is giving your users too much access. You can go to Groups, click on Permissions for Everyone, and here you can modify the group's permissions. One of the things that I recommend is that you uncheck all the boxes as a safeguard to ensure that any new user that's added to this group won't be able to make changes to your applications. And if you want to give them access to certain objects, then you can set up a brand new group. So let's go ahead and disable all the checkboxes. And when you're done, go ahead and click on Save. Now let me give you a good example of how you can have two developers with only access to one application. Let's go back to users and add a new one. For example, let's add Sally@test.com, and she'll be added to the group Everyone by default. And then let's go ahead and click on Invite. Now let's go back to Groups and create a brand new one. We'll call it Developers. We can also add a description here if we want to, and we'll go ahead and select our two users, John and Sally, and click on Create. Now let's click on Permissions for this group. Remember, I only want to give them access to a single application inside my account. I will expand this object and select Cascading Elements. I only want them to be able to read and modify the app, but I don't want them to be able to delete it. Let's close this object and let's go to Data Pages. Select Cascading Elements, and for this object, I want them to be able to edit the data page, preview, and deploy. Once again, let's close this object and go to Tables. Here is why adding a prefix to your tables is so important. Now you can find those tables much quicker. For the Orders table, I will go ahead and enable most of the editing functions. And for my States Lookup table, I will do the same. This particular app doesn't have any views or authentications, so I will leave those out. You can also modify permissions for files, styles, and localizations. When you're done, click OK. Now, any new user that you add and is placed inside the developer group will only have access to the application called Cascading Elements. So when they log in, this will be the only application listed. The last thing that I will point out is, let's say that Sally is more of a senior developer and she would like the ability to delete tables inside this Cascading Elements application. Go back to Access Permissions, and this time, you don't want to set this permission on a group level because John will be able to delete tables as well. Instead, you can edit Sally's permissions directly, go down to Tables Object, and override the group's permission using the checkbox on the left. This concludes the video on using access permissions. You can limit what the users can see and do inside your account on both the group level and individual access. Thanks for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. For additional videos and articles on how to use Caspio, keep it right here on our YouTube channel or visit our knowledge base at howto.caspio.com. www.caspio.com.